It's a weekday and Sydney families are enjoying the end of the working day at their local beach. It's a ritual enjoyed by many Australians, but one they can no longer take for granted.
The coast is the lifeblood of Australia. It's not just our beaches, it's where our ports are, where many people live. Science is now projecting sea level to rise 1 metre by 2100 and will continue to rise well beyond that.
That means 100 metres of coast at risk of disappearing in the next 100 years. Long summer days at the beach and swimming in the ocean are treasured parts of life here. But rising sea levels could see this lifestyle literally swept away. Australia's government acknowledges the coast is now more vulnerable as climate change brings higher tides and triggers more intense storms and flooding. It says people will have to adapt, but residents still struggle to save their homes from toppling into the ocean. In Byron Bay are the country's most vulnerable beaches. Like many Australian coastal resorts, the most expensive properties overlook the sea. The council here has what's called a planned retreat policy. That means owners of beachfront properties have to move their houses or demolish them at their own cost once they come within 20 metres of the coastal escarpment. In a storm last year, Ian Astley lost 10 metres of his front lawn.
I think it's just being so helpless. Sitting here, you know, when's the next storm going to come? When's it going to happen again? And without being able to do anything, but just sit and virtually watch your property slide into the ocean.
Ian is angry the council's policy means that he's not allowed to build rock walls to shore up his property. But the council has little sympathy. It says dumping boulders to protect his home would only make the situation worse.
The real trouble here is the rock walls. They dump boulders on the beach. They're increasing erosion of the beach, making us lose it quicker, and pretty soon all we're going to have is just these boulder coastline.
But with planned retreat attracting legal action from rich homeowners, only the bravest of councils are willing to ask people to abandon their homes. Sydney's Coleroy Beach is losing 1 metre of beach a year. Its council is dumping thousands of tonnes of sand to try and slow the pace of erosion. It's a temporary solution and an expensive one.
As I've said many times, we must hope for the best in terms of climate change, but we must plan for the worst.
With the sea continuing its relentless assault, tough decisions need to be made if the beach life enjoyed by so many Australians will be preserved for future generations. Kylie Gray, Al Jazeera, Sydney.
Forgive me for my wrongs, I have just begun.
Portland, Oregon, February 1996. A mountain begins to move, and for a contractor and his son, there's only one option: get out of the way fast.
Oh my God!
They had just gone head-to-head with one of nature's most powerful and destructive forces, a landslide. The surface of our planet is constantly reshaping itself, and landslides are a major reason. They strike wherever the soil is loosened by rain or tugged by gravity. It can be a rockfall or a raging river of mud. But wherever the ground fails, it can result in massive destruction. On average, landslides kill more than 8,000 people every year around the world. They can crash down without warning and travel for several miles. In the U.S., landslides occur in all 50 states, but some places are more dangerous than others. Landslides usually follow other natural disasters like volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, wildfires, storms, and floods. Steep slopes are obvious places for landslides, as are areas that have been hit by landslides before. But they also frequently occur where people have radically altered the landscape. Hills stripped of vegetation, slopes modified for roads and buildings. And as our cities and towns expand further, landslides become more frequent and more destructive. In 1998, disaster struck the Southern California suburb of Laguna Niguel. Few realized that the man-made hill beneath them could fail. The ground, eroded by heavy rains, began to give way, and the houses came crashing down. 7 were seriously damaged, and 5 of them tumbled down the cliff face. Though the ground cracked and the earth plummeted, no one was injured. The residents of Laguna Niguel were lucky. They still had their town. The following year in Venezuela, torrential rains triggered widespread landslides across a 25-mile-wide strip of coastline in the state of Vargas. Communities were buried under waves of mud and debris. It's estimated that 30,000 people were killed, around 10% of the area's population. Accurate death tolls were difficult to establish because so many people vanished under the mud or were swept out to sea. Though the catastrophe was on a massive scale, it is by no means unique. Such disasters have happened before and will happen again. As long as the earth continues to move, people will live with the threat of landslides.
you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel a good, good creeping up on you. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. I can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. I can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel a good, good creeping up on you. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. I can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. I can't stop the feeling. Yeah. So keep dancing.
time.
One more time. One more time.
Please.
One more time. One more time. One more time. Let me see if I can start on beat. One more time. One more time. One more time.